What's up, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Talk Gaming. This is the Game of the Year 2022 discussion. I am Christian, aka Suck Sandwich. That's John, aka it's me, Jon B, and that's Courtney, aka it's Courtney 808. How are you folks doing? Are you excited?
I'm more excited than you, Christian.
I'm sorry.
He's the most excited.
Yeah.
I was gonna open with "Welcome to Talk Gaming," the only gaming show that will never have Stray as Game of the Year.
That's not what I'm about to tweet.
Cody says, "I've been waiting for this forever." And
Same.
then Nitro says it must be a special episode because Christian's wearing a collared shirt.
I
That
told
is
him to
true.
wear a tie.
Ties choke my
Oh,
neck.
I forgot the camera's over here now. I told him to wear a tie.
And he's like, I don't know how.
Yeah. No, that's me. I don't know how.
Oh.
I have to tie John's tie every time he has to wear a tie.
That's
I think
not-
I tied it for my wedding.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. I don't know how to tie a tie.
No, Brandon tied your tie.
That's not. These nubs don't know nothing. But yeah, very special episode. Are we diving right into it?
Yeah, I mean, you can do your housekeeping, but then we're gonna dive right into it just so we don't run out of time.
Well, a little bit of housekeeping for you. Make sure to check the description. You'll see some links. Check out our Patreon. You can support this show and you can support my water addiction because I've quit drinking Mountain Dew during the week by subscribing at $1 or more using Patreon. Also, check out, we have amazing merch available too, like this hoodie right here. It's been kind of chilly. So you've probably seen me wearing this hoodie a lot on stream. And join the Discord if you haven't already. So there's a Discord link. Yes, at the $8 tier, we send you a sticker.
Yes.
At the $8 tier, we send you a sticker. And at the end of the show, look out for your name. It's a new month,
Well-
new names.
We'll shout it. We'll shout each name.
Well, until the list gets too long. Yes, we'll shout each name.
So, what do we consider too long?
My Hawaiian name. Just kidding.
No, the list. If the list gets too long.
Did you say the limit does not exist?
The limit does not exist. No, the list. If the
Oh.
list gets too
The
long.
list.
The list.
The list.
The lid.
I thought I said, what do you consider too long? And Courtney said the limit does not exist.
No, she said her Hawaiian name.
Clearly, nobody can hear. No one can read.
No, I don't know how the problem is. I blame Discord. Is it when we talk over each other, does it just cut out all audio? Is that what happens?
Not for me. I just couldn't
Oh,
hear
okay.
what Courtney was saying.
Okay, cool.
He just sees my face and just tunes me out on instinct.
That's fair.
I have Courtney muted. I just thought that was
Sorry,
the plan.
Courtney, you saying something? You saying something, Courtney?
Speak up! Speak up! I can't hear you. I just want to acknowledge Nitro in the chat. He says that he's been watching watching their weight since as part of a New Year's resolution, and they're down to 248 pounds, which is fantastic.
Nice.
Congratulations!
Yay,
That's awesome.
BBs.
Remember that weight is nothing but a number, but whatever goal you set for yourself, keep at it. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Maybe one day you'll be like John, where he has water for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
No, I do eat food. I've had brown rice and chicken for the last going on
Week and a half.
5 work days so far. One day I
You've-
mixed it up and I got beef in my bowl. So I got beef and chicken in the bowl.
Are you just eating at Wabba Grill every day, or are
Wabba-
you making your own bread rice and chicken?
Wabba Grill and Flame Broiler.
Nice.
I will say this, Flame Broiler doesn't charge for veggies, which is nice. Wabba Grill charges an extra $1 for veggies.
How dare
Gotta,
they?
gotta make that money somewhere.
I
Those
guess so.
fucking big veggie.
I feel like the veggies isn't the place to make the money, but whatever. But I mean, I've also been eating the veggies in the bowl too, which I typically do not like cooked vegetables. So
That's weird, John.
What?
You don't like cooked vegetables?
it's
Just
disgusting.
be thankful
You
he's
just-
eating vegetables, Christian.
You're just out here eating raw carrots? Like, what's going on?
Yes. First of all, when you steam or boil a vegetable, the nutrients they most of them leave. The nutrients are in the raw vegetable. That's
John's
what
just pulling lettuce out of the ground and eating it raw.
you haven't. I don't recommend doing that. Actually, you might get. I don't know. You might get sick. Like there's manure in the dirt. Don't do that.
Well, not just
Yeah, but that just
there's-
builds an immune system.
You're right.
Oh,
Absolutely. cough in my face. Like the
No,
guy.
don't do that either.
Oh.
Nope.
That's an Office reference.
Yeah.
But also, just don't do that.
Yeah.
Nitro says it's more than watching what they eat.
Yeah. Well, it's been
Steaming vegetables.
Vegetables, not primal.
exactly. That is
Absolutely
so
not
primal. I've actually been eating nothing but raw liver for the past 7 days. So
Raw liver.
Yeah.
Oh shit, John's on the Liver King diet.
My
No wonder you
shits-
look so fucking ripped.
I'm so fucking yoked. My shits are so crispy smooth. I don't even have to wipe anymore, dude.
You probably don't even sweat anymore because you don't have any negative toxins in your body, so you just stop sweating and don't smell.
I actually don't wear shirts anymore either. And my natural BO isn't that offensive anymore. So when I do sweat, it's just to cool me down, you know? So whatever. You'll understand. You guys will understand when you guys are primal like me. Also, I'm on steroids now. Anyway,
All right.
we got a show to do.
We do. We got a show to do. We got a lot to talk about. I have my top 10 games of 2022, and I also have some other small awards that and for games that we'll talk about in between.
Okay.
But before we do anything, I'm going to kick it off with a couple honorable mentions. I don't have images for this, John. I'm just going to talk.
Okay.
It's just going to be really quick.
All right.
So a couple honorable mentions from last year. My first one is Neon White. Neon White was an exceedingly good action game that was bogged down by a poorly written story, cliche and at times cringy characters, and sarcasm that often came off as genuine. The gameplay loop was solid, which is one of the best in recent memory, honestly. But the inclusion of the visual novel element to tell its story really shits in the game's cereal.
Mm.
It's
don't
still
like
a great game, but I
I-
can't give a hearty recommendation without outlining those big caveats.
I'm not a big fan of shit in my cereal. That's not part of my diet.
No, thank you.
No.
Yeah, and just to preface this, I am
Yeah.
kind of going off my script/review that I'm writing because I will also be posting these as semi-written reviews all over my social media. So that's what I'm going off of. I'm doing my best to not sound robotic. But moving on. Second honorable mention is Power Wash Simulator. And all I can say about Power Wash Simulator is what a dumb but actually pretty brilliant idea for a game.
Uh-huh.
I played a good chunk of Power Wash Simulator this year, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was tickle my OCD in the right spots.
Oh,
We weren't sure where you were going with what it tickled, so
I was curious to learn what it tickled for
What
you.
it
I
tickled.
actually want to play Power Wash Simulator. I see all of the posts about it on social media. I really want to play it.
it looks
It's
really
on-
funny.
It's on every system now. You can play it on a Steam Deck if you have it. You can play it through Microsoft Cloud Gaming. It just came out on Switch and PlayStation today. So it's fun. It's a good time. If you like, I don't want to say the monotony because that makes it sound boring, but if you like seeing things get cleaned, it's a fun way to spend some time. Just, wash a couple houses before you go to bed. It's fun.
Okay, wait. That sounds like a chore. Never mind. I
It's
don't even
not.
like cleaning my
You can
actual
draw,
house.
Courtney. You can draw dicks on the wall.
Okay, you've resold me.
That's what I do every time. I draw a big dick on the side of the house and then I wash it off.
And I draw like a very big just labia. And just,
Yeah. I don't know if it'll translate as well as a penis, but
You can draw whatever you want. It's the dirt, basically, and then you just spray it with water.
so all
It's
right.
fun.
My last number 3, my last big honorable mention is Sonic Frontiers. And the only thing I have to say about that is this quote. I'm falling faster than a chili dog out of my ass. Which was actually Jon B right here as we played Sonic Frontiers. I actually had a pretty good time with this game. I'm not finished with it yet. I enjoyed it I think it's one of the better Sonic games in recent memory. But I also really enjoyed playing it on stream with you guys.
I may have to go back to it. Maybe I'll do an offline playthrough and upload it.
Hey
John
John,
loved it so much.
Yeah,
give me your Sonic Frontier review.
it's a game. You can check out that playthrough here on YouTube. Go check out the
Yeah,
Just gonna-
it's got some great moments in it, like when I say, "That's not a tower, you idiot," and then you'll be shocked at what it is. All right, we're gonna
Okay.
kick it off for the real awards. So, John, I'm gonna need you to bring up the images, and while I'm waiting for you, this is the best game that's not from 2022. So this is the first little award or recognition that I'm gonna give.
All right, I'm ready.
Is it up? I can't see.
No, I'm gonna reveal it when you say it.
All right, the best game from that's not from 2022 is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Woo!
I finally managed to finish Red Dead Redemption 2 last year, and let me tell you, what a fucking game that game is.
What a game! Oh,
Mhm.
fuck!
It's a video game for sure. I took far too long, or the game took far too long to get its hooks into me, and I still have some major gripes about Rockstar's strict adherence to realism. But you absolutely can't deny what a masterpiece in game design and storytelling this thing is. You have incredible, memorable characters, a lively, realized open world, and just an overall roller coaster and adventure. Red Dead 2 has landed squarely next to Red Dead 1 as one of my favorite games of all time. I
Nice.
was blown away by the time I finished that game. I really, really liked the direction it went, and I was really glad that I stuck it out. And basically, right when I jumped back in, I had stopped 3-4 years ago whenever the game came out, right at the point where the game got good, which is what everybody was telling me.
Such a
And
good game.
as Nitro points out, if your horse is cold, his balls will shrink. So
True.
Yeah.
True. I almost included that in the review.
yeah,
It's an important feature.
we need to jump in the multiplayer and do some RPing.
It's so I'm actually
Some
playing.
rage parenting.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. My favorite kind of parenting, the only kind I know. But I actually just got back into playing Red Dead Online, and I'm having so much fun. I'm remembering exactly why I fell in love with the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Yeah, I saw you post about it, and maybe I will jump in with you guys. I've never played Red Dead Online, so
Perfect. I hope you're ready for the hazing.
Hope
It's
you're
gonna
ready.
be just John crashing into you with his horse because he's not fucking watching.
that
That's not
sounds about like
hazing.
John.
That's just how I play.
That's just how I role play in that game. All right, John, we're actually gonna get down to the first game on my top 10 list. Number 10,
Yep.
and this one's for you, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Woo! I like that.
I had to include this one. I didn't include it specifically for you. I did really enjoy this game. Shredder's Revenge is the perfect example of a game living up to the hype. From the moment this thing was announced in early 2021, it took over everyone's attention. Shredder's Revenge was set up to be either the perfect game or the biggest letdown, and thankfully it was the former. It's a spiritual successor to one of the best arcade games of all time, has the original voice cast, handmade pixel art, music by an established retro composer, and members of the Wu-Tang Clan. So everything you could want in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle revival game. Shredder's Revenge executes everything to perfection. It was exactly what it needed to be, and frankly, I'm surprised it managed to live up to the very lofty expectations that were thrust upon it. I'm still hard-pressed to find a more fun gaming experience in 2022 than blasting through this game on launch day with you guys.
That was
Hell
so
yeah.
fun.
That was a lot of fun. We got really far. Did we beat it?
We beat it.
We beat it in one sitting, and
That-
then like immediately when we were done with the stream, I went back and I like played through it again.
That's awesome. Me too.
It's
So good.
it's so good, and like this game definitely got its it got a bunch of nods this year. It didn't win any awards from anywhere,
Yeah.
which is a shame because I really do think it's a top 10 game. I think it's a masterfully done throwback game. Like it's very hard to do a retro beat 'em up in a way that actually makes sense in 2022, and I think this game executed it really, really well.
We'll have to go back and do another playthrough.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
I'm down.
We should play as characters that we don't like. So I'll play as like April O'Neil. You know,
Sure.
not just characters that you wouldn't pick normally.
Sure.
is I guess what I should say.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 9 on my top 10 list. The Talk Gaming top 10 games of 2022 is Splatoon 3.
I'll give it some golf claps.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
yay.
So
Yay.
Splatoon 3, it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does strengthen the franchise, helping to make it feel more diverse and exciting. It's easily Nintendo's most modern take on competitive games, with cues taken from titles like Destiny and Fortnite when it comes to maximizing the player's personal experience. All of the multiplayer mechanics loop really nicely into each other, so you feel like no matter what mode you're playing, you're progressing and upgrading your character. There are also new features like the ability to reroll stats on your clothing so you can utilize the perks you want while still keeping your fit fresh. These updates are incredibly welcome and help Splatoon 3 to continue to stand out against and feel modern against a dull backdrop of repetitive shooters. Beyond that, Splatoon 3 is still the colorful third-person shooter dripping with style that you know and love. It's really just more of a good thing, and I don't really know what else you could ask for. When Splatoon 3 came out and I first got my hands on it, it was just a market improvement over 2. Not that 2 was bad, not that 1 was bad, but they just improved the right things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did either of you spend any time with Splatoon 3?
Yes. I'm not good at Splatoon. And I think the toughest thing for me was to jump back in because a lot of seasoned veterans from Splatoon 2 have immediately jumped back into it, and the play style. If you know Splatoon 2, you can jump right into Splatoon 3 and pretty much dominate. And I think that's the hardest part for me is that there's no scaling, so you're thrown in with really good players. But as far as the gameplay goes, it's really fun. It's and it's colorful, and it's silly, and it's quirky. And I think that a majority, if not all of the weapons feel good and easy to use, and the music is fun and it's colorful. I think I said that already, but it's a good game. I agree with this.
I think it's just a special game. It's a game that's unlike most games out there. It's a multiplayer shooter that kind of does things its own way, and it doesn't really. You could call it a third-person shooter, but it doesn't really fall into any specific category. You know what I mean? Because there's even like platforming parts, especially if you play the single-player mode. So that's what really drew me to Splatoon in the first place when I first got my hands on the first one back in the day. It just was so unique. And like Nitro said in the chat, I think it's Nintendo's best new IP in a long time.
Yeah, I agree. It's just it just feels really good swimming in that ink.
It does.
Yeah.
Courtney, did you play Splatoon 3 or no?
I have not played a single Splatoon game at all.
I think you would like it.
I think so
based
too.
on the limited knowledge that I know about what games you enjoy, I think you would like it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'll have to take a look at it then.
It's a shooter, but not a shooter, because really the ultimate goal is that you're in a group of 4 and you need to cover the entire map in your color ink. Yeah, you get splatted by the enemy, but that's not necessarily the goal. That's just a defensive move to push the opposition back. The goal is to push the offense and cover the entire map with your color. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
It makes for easing new players in. Very
perfect.
Very yeah. All right, we're moving on. Best game. This is a side award. This is not part of the top 10, but this is the best game with a trombone in it from 2022. And I had to give it to Trombone Champ.
Yeah.
Because we had an absolutely stacked year. There were trombones in every fucking game this year.
Yeah.
It was the new hot thing.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, it was roguelikes, and then it was Dark Souls clones, and now it's put a fucking trombone in your game.
That's right. So, the amount of trombones this year.
Yeah.
So many tromboners.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever legitimately don't think I've ever talked about a trombone more than I have in the last like 4 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, I absolutely had to give this one to Trombone Champ. It's a true little underdog story because all it took was for one website to take notice of this hilarious Guitar Hero like trombone clone, and then it was off to the races. It's a fun game and worthy of winning an award because there's just something so inherently funny about the sounds that come out of those brass tubes.
Yeah.
And Trombone Champ lands itself in a special category of games that only get better the worse you are at them.
That is true.
That's why it was so good watching Jon play.
I was too good at it.
It was unentertaining.
Yeah. Awful. F tier.
Yeah.
All right.
Mid, as the kids say.
All right, moving on. So this is gonna be number 8 on my top 10 games of 2022 list. Number 8 is Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet.
Oh.
I love that. I'm happy.
Now we
with
all
that.
played this year, right?
Absolutely.
What did you guys think? Before I get into like my little blurb about it, what would either of you put it on a top 10 list for your favorite games of the year?
Oh, definitely. Hands down. I really, as an avid Pokemon game player, this was a very nice change. It still kept some of the roots of what makes a Pokemon game, but I think it incorporated some of the things that worked really well for Legends of Arceus, but it still had, the original grassroots of what Pokemon games are. And I think that's what it was I think it was a nice marriage of the two, and I thoroughly enjoyed this game. I really did.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like Pokemon.
I like collecting the Pokemans.
Yeah. It was a good romp.
Yeah. I do miss being able to like bean Pokemon unsuspecting with balls.
With the Pokeballs.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing to do in Arceus, was fucking just nail them without them knowing that it was happening. But other than that, it was really good.
Wow. What I had to say about it is, yes, the games are buggy. Yes, there are glitches, and yeah, there are times when the games seem to run at what amounts to be about 12 frames per second. Those are all
Yes.
very, very valid criticisms. But Pokemon Scarlet and Violet show up to prove the core Nintendo philosophy once again, which is as long as a game is fun, everything else is secondary. Me personally,
I agree.
I'm a lapsed Pokemon fan. The last time I was truly engaged with a Pokemon game, I was 10 years old and hacking Pokemon Silver with my Game Shark in the back of my friend's grandparents' car. But Violet really brought me back in, and really brought me back in tenfold. There's just something about the open world formula that works so well with Pokemon, and Scarlet and Violet nailed it. There was a sense of nostalgic wonder as I explored Paldea, and everywhere I went, I was curious as to what Pokemon were lurking around the next corner, what I was going to run into next. Between the different storylines and the new Titan Pokemon and the new terrestrializing. There was always something new to find, and I wasn't locked into the same old go from gym to gym routine, which was nice.
Oh yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are the best Pokemon games in years, and they're a huge leap forward for the Pokemon formula. They have their faults, absolutely, but they are undoubtedly a reinvigoration for the series, and I'm actually excited to see what comes next. I'm really looking forward to any DLC they may announce, or even just the follow-up, because like Courtney said, they took all the best parts from Arceus, which I also really liked and played this year, and just built upon that. So if they can continue building upon this foundation that they built with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I think the Pokemon games are only going to get better, and I think I'm going to be somebody who's excited for each new iteration, finally.
Mm-hmm. And the best part, you don't have to worry about walking in front of somebody and some freaking kid just running at you like, what, battle?
Walking in front of somebody and a kid running up to you and saying, "I like shorts. They're comfy and easy to wear."
Exactly.
And you're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Yeah, it made these Scarlet and Violet made all the right changes. My biggest criticisms are at the performance and stuff, but that's been talked to death, so I won't get into that. I think gameplay wise, they're really, really solid.
Mm-hmm.
Dig it.
All right, we're gonna move on to number 7. Can I get a drum roll? Just for number 7. Number 7 is Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Woo! This is a fun game.
Thank you for the sound effects. So I loved Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I know both of you did as well, right? Yes?
I loved it.
Courtney,
Didn't play
did you
it.
play it? Okay.
No.
I said both of you loved it, and then I was like, I don't think Courtney played it. You loved it though, right, John?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I didn't get very far. Actually,
you're a
no.
fake gamer.
I take that back. I got kind of far, but not very far. But
But
yes,
it was kind of your meat and potatoes, 3D platformer, right, John?
yeah, it was the first Kirby game that I really dedicated more than a couple stages to.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it really like I was very interested in what was coming next.
Well, 2022 was definitely the unofficial year of Kirby between Forgotten Land, all the anniversary stuff that happened. I think it was his 30th anniversary in 2022. We got Kirby. What was the Delicious Dream Course? Kirby's Dream? No, what's it called?
Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I know
Dream Buffet?
Kirby's Dream Buffet.
Dream
Yeah,
Buffet,
We got
yes.
Kirby's Dream Buffet, and then here in a couple of weeks we're getting Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. So the year of Kirby keeps on going and keeps on giving. But yeah, 2022 kicked off with one of the best Kirby games ever. Forgotten Land was both a decadent dessert and also a wonderful palate cleanser among the smorgasbord of other releases from last year. I enjoyed Forgotten Land. I thought every second I played was pure joy. I really, really enjoyed sucking up from sucking up a traffic cone to sucking up a walrus to sucking up a mole to sucking up a bomb to sucking up a flight of stairs to sucking up a ring to turning myself into a giant water balloon. I was gobbling up everything, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land had almost every ingredient needed for a perfect platforming adventure. So, under the guise of Kirby's usual cuteness and the brand new mouthful mode mechanic lies a game that's way better than it should be. I was blown away. It's beautiful graphics, it's thoughtful levels, excellent boss fights, a stunning score, and if you haven't beat the game, it's got one of the most bonkers endings to any game I've ever played. It basically just goes full on anime, which is ridiculous for Kirby, but I loved it. I also played this game with my wife, and we had a really solid time doing that. It was one of our favorite co-op experiences in a while. I think that Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the new standard for Kirby adventures.
Nice.
High praise.
Yeah, it's really, really good, and I hope that the next true sequel Kirby game, not re-release, builds on Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I think it's a missed opportunity if it doesn't, because Nintendo typically treats Kirby and like Yoshi as their kind of like experimental franchises, where every time a new Kirby or Yoshi game comes out, it's something completely different. And I hope that they see, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the best-selling Kirby game already, so I hope that they see what they have with it and they build upon it. I would love Forgotten Land 2, or, Kirby and the Remembered Land, Kirby and the...
Kirby in the Land I haven't been to yet.
Yeah, Kirby in the Land I haven't been to. Kirby in the Land of I sort of remember you, but I'm not sure. Can you remind me your name?
Kirby in the Land Before Time.
Yeah.
Ooh. With dinosaurs? Please.
Nitro says, I need to get this game at some point. I haven't played a Kirby game in a long while. You do. You absolutely do. If you haven't played a Kirby game in a long time and you've been kind of wary, like John said, this is the first Kirby game he put any substantial amount of time into. And I think this is one of the best Kirby games in a long time. I don't know if I'd say it's the best Kirby game, but it's definitely in the top 3.
What I found about this Kirby too is if I'll go into a store, and usually I'll go into like the Nintendo section just to see what's out there, and I'll hear people asking for previous Kirbys because they've played this Kirby. So it's like they're being reintroduced to a franchise that they've never given a chance. They've never given a chance to before. So yeah, I found that really interesting.
I like that.
Yeah,
I did too. I also really like just kind of how the year of Kirby has rolled into each other. We had Forgotten Land, like we said, Dream Buffet, and now the next thing. It's really helped people build upon Kirby, because like you said, they are going back, but they're also going forward to be excited about Dream Buffet. I talked to quite a few people who picked up Dream Buffet because of Forgotten Land, in the same, respect as what you were saying, John.
Yep.
So we're going to move on. Here's another non-numbered award, but the next one on my favorite games of 2022 list is Best Remake. And the best remake goes to Pac-Man World Repack.
Hey!
That's funny.
So this is the best game that nobody but me is talking about. I told that to my wife last night, and she cracked up and she said, it's true. I've never heard about this game or anybody talk about it except for you.
I see this game around. I don't know what it's about at all.
So it's a 3D. It's a remake of his first 3D platforming adventure from back on the PS1. Back when they were kind of still trying to figure out what Kirby was and trying to keep him relevant. They,
Pac-Man?
you know, yeah, Pac-Man, not Kirby. Thank
Yeah.
you. They did a bunch of experimenting. They did some side-scrolling action adventure games, but then they settled on, in the 3D platformer craze era, they settled on a 3D platformer, and they actually made three Pac-Man World games. Pac-Man World 1, 2, and 3. And 2 and 3 were on the GameCube, and I also really, really liked those, but I'd never played the first one. Because until now, and it's wild because this is like a remake that I don't think anybody was asking for. But either way, Bandai Namco nailed it. And I think Repack is one of the best remakes that I've ever played.
Nice.
Just in terms of the love, care, and attention that went into remaking almost every single aspect of this game. If you look at comparison videos, they literally took and remade every single asset in the game from the ground up. This isn't just a new coat of paint, a remastered. Like, you're not picking up a game that actually looks like it's 20, 25 years old. You're picking up a game that looks like it might have come out today. Like, if you didn't know, I think I've actually talked to a lot of people who didn't know. They just thought it was a new Kirby or Pac-Man game. It's just absolutely crazy how much effort they seem to have put into this remake. It doesn't make it an amazing platformer, but it's still very solid, and it's wrapped in an excellent shiny new package.
I'm gonna have to play it if it's a platformer.
I think you would really like it, John.
Nice.
All right, we're gonna get back onto the numbered list, so we're gonna hit number 6, and number 6 is A Plague Tale: Requiem.
Wow.
Ooh.
So, A Plague Tale: Requiem surprised even me. I was a big fan of the previous game, A Plague Tale: Innocence, but I really didn't know what the sequel could do to kind of change the formula of the game and improve upon it, if that makes sense.
Sure.
It did. It came back. The sequel came around, and it does everything so much better. I think, however, more than anything, the game is carried by the story and the performances. In particular, by the lead, Charlotte McBurney, who plays Amicia de Rune, which is the main character. I think her performance is one of the best I've seen in any medium recently. She really, really gives the character her all and puts herself into it. And it was incredibly impressive to experience her genuine love for, because if you don't know, you're Amicia and you're traveling with your brother Hugo. I could feel the genuine love towards her brother while also still struggling with the world that they were in and the decisions that she was making. Because if you don't know about the game, it's not really a combat focused game. It's a stealth action game. So most of it involves sneaking around and kind of getting away from enemies rather than taking them head on. Even though in the sequel, you do get like a crossbow and you are able to like take out enemies. But it was awesome to see Charlotte wrestle with that aspect too, because Amicia does get really upset and confused and kind of heartbroken about what she has to do just to protect her brother. But the other characters as well were well written and multidimensional. And every time I was introduced to a new character, I found myself wanting to spend more time with them. There were points where a character made a complete heel turn. I won't spoil anything, but there's somebody who's chasing you and ends up being part of your team and kind of helps you through a good chunk of the story and then kind of exits an epic way. The story draws upon multiple themes, and it takes you on an epic journey that very acutely examines grief, love, and loss in a way that really only a video game can provide it. And what I mean by that is because you're interacting with it, you're making the decisions. So things really, at least for me, they really resonated with me a lot harder because I was there, I wasn't being a passive participant. I was actually doing these things. And I think that especially towards the end of the game, the way it kind of ties everything up into this big, like I said, kind of reflection on what love is and what loss is and what, you have to do to really love somebody, was incredible. But beyond the story and stuff, the gameplay and the mechanics have been smartly expanded as well. It gives you energetic new ways to persevere across medieval France, um, while also putting you more in control of the different plights that you find yourself in. If you are looking for something that's different from the normal big AAA release, I highly recommend you check out A Plague Tale Requiem or even the first one, A Plague Tale Innocence. I think they're both incredibly solid action stealth games.
Nice.
I like it.
All right, we're gonna move on to number 5. And I know somebody on Twitter, I forget who, I apologize, was asking if this one was gonna be on the list, but number 5 is Tunic.
Hey.
And if you know me, I've been talking about how good Tunic is for a while. I think this game was absolutely mind-blowing in how well it was made and executed. It was basically made, built and designed by one person, which is incredible. He did have some help in the music and the testing and the art, but the core gameplay loop seems like it was designed by him. It's a unabashed love letter to early Zelda games, and it looks, plays, and even feels like a slightly more modern version of something like A Link to the Past. But where it separates itself from those classics and really any other game I played this year, is in the mechanic it uses to teach you about the game and its world. It's really difficult to describe, and I don't want to spoil it, but there's a mechanic in the game that is central to the gameplay, and how you progress in the world, that revolves around a video game manual. And I've never seen anything like this, and I think it's one of the coolest game mechanics I've ever experienced. I think it's so ingeniously incorporated into how the game teaches you to play and teaches you about the world you're in. You pick up different pages as you go along to this manual, and it just really reveals the mystery and the mythos of the game as you are playing through it in a way that really harkens back to what it was like to get a game in the 80s or 90s, when you would buy it and you would open the manual and go through and try to learn everything about it, read every page, or buy the strategy guide. Like if you were like me, I used to buy strategy guides for games, and then I would take them to school, and that would be my silent reading material. Even though I wasn't playing the game, I would just read from page 1 to page 100 to know everything about the game, which is something I really miss. And Tunic really incorporates that element into making itself a really standout game. I've never encountered a game quite like Tunic, and I think it'll be a long time before I do again. This is my favorite indie game of 2022, and like I was talking it up, I think it has the best game mechanic of any game this year.
Nice.
I like the little fox character.
It's very cute too.
Yeah.
So Tunic was honestly a surprise, because there was another game that came out last year called Death's Door that was very similar. It was another kind of like Zelda Link to the Past. I don't want to say ripoff, but like an homage. And then Tunic put out, after that game came out, Tunic put out a demo, and I played the demo, and I was like, oh man, Death's Door was way better. Like he's got some tough competition. And then Tunic came out, and as soon as you're hit with that first instance of the video game manual, and you start to see what it's gonna do, it's really impressive.
Nice.
Love
All
it.
right. So we're gonna move on. This is my biggest disappointment of 2022.
Okay.
And it's not what you're thinking. The biggest disappointment I had this year was the Callisto Protocol.
It was what I was thinking, actually.
I thought you guys were gonna say Stray. I thought you guys
I'm
were
sure
assuming
Courtney
it.
was.
That's the best game, so it's not a disappointment, obviously.
I hate it here. Really only 2 games came into my mind when I sat down to think about what was really disappointing for me in 2022. It was Ghostwire Tokyo and then the Callisto Protocol. But while I was excited about Ghostwire and I was disappointed when I started playing it, I didn't even get too far into it because I was like this is a PS3 game essentially.
Mm.
Ghostwire was more bad than disappointing, whereas Callisto Protocol was more disappointing than it was bad.
Aw.
So I very sadly had to give it the title. I'm a huge Dead Space fan. I'm playing the remake right now, which is great. And I got really excited when the developers behind the original Dead Space series announced a spiritual successor. They put out a bunch of brutal, intense trailers to show off the game being scary, terrifying, gory, aggressive, and I was like, I'm all in. This is all the good stuff about Dead Space. But sadly, most of what was in those trailers, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen the majority of the game. It kind of spoils all the big moments. It doesn't really expand on those. You know, there's a trailer where there's like a whirling centrifuge and you see the main character get thrown into it, and like that's like the only time that you're around one of those to throw enemies into. Like, it was just disappointing because most of the game is hitting left, right on the sticks because that's the combat system. You're dodging until you can get an opening, and it plays weirdly like Punch Out on the Super Nintendo or something like that. It was just not intuitive, and I don't think it was what they were going for kind of came out right when you're actually playing on the controller with the sticks in your hand. It's at a certain point I was literally just going through the motions. Callisto also had one of the worst final boss fights I've ever experienced. It was just one of those boss fights that was just poorly designed in the fact that it was annoying and frustrating and not in the right ways. It was just, I'm trying to pick up ammo and I can't dodge this huge attack, that sort of thing. It was really frustrating. And although Callisto is my biggest disappointment of 2022, I'm also still really excited to see a sequel from it. There's a lot of premise for it to carve out a niche of its own. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next from the studio behind it. I really would like to get a sequel to it and see that now they kind of got their bearings as a studio, what they could do with a sequel.
Nice. I mean, not nice, technically.
I didn't play it, so I'm going to trust your judgment on it.
Look, between playing that and then playing the Dead Space remake right now, the Dead Space remake gets everything right. And that game was already a great game, so it's kind of unfair to compare the two. But when your whole goal is to be the next Dead Space, the next iteration of survival horror in space, Callisto just misses it. It just wasn't particularly scary. It was more tense, and just like I said, it was cheap, and if you watched the trailer, you kind of got everything that the game had to offer.
Got it.
But we're going to go back to the numbered list with number 4 on the list. Which is number 4, which is Horizon Forbidden West. Now, did either of you play this?
Nope.
I have it. I haven't played it.
Courtney, this seems like absolutely your jam. Again, based on the limited knowledge of what I know you enjoy, but I could see you getting really into this. I'm a little sad that you haven't played it.
Well, here's the thing. I loved Horizon Zero Dawn. Absolutely loved the game. It gave me, I mean, if you know me, I love female-driven games. I loved the openness of with the fighting. It like some of the like enemies felt like cluttered, but there are some points where you would have open space and the fighting just felt natural, and I enjoyed the scenery. I really loved the game. So I had actually gotten Horizon Forbidden West as a present, and it's sitting here, and unfortunately I hadn't turned my PS4 on in like a year until just recently, so I think I'll probably get into it at some point.
You absolutely should, because I also really love Zero Dawn, but it did have some shortcomings, particularly kind of in the combat. Forbidden West does a great job at correcting all of those mistakes and infractions that nice. Zero Dawn committed. Everything that was tedious or didn't work in Zero Dawn plays harmoniously in Forbidden West. They changed the combat a lot in a way that is now way more fun and fluid, and you can like level up the way that you're fighting rather than just doing like you have a specific skill tree for different types of fighting that you want to do. And that makes it sound a little more complicated than it is. I just mean that you have a separate skill tree for your fight, like your action, and then your like passive abilities, which
Good.
makes it really, really cool. They also redid how they rethought how you do side missions. They're no longer rote and redundant. They actually work together and they flow into the main narrative really well.
Oh, good.
The story takes you through some truly incredible blockbuster moments. And I think the low points of Forbidden West are higher than a lot of the high points in Zero Dawn, honestly, story-wise. There are some parts in Zero Dawn towards the end that I think are the best parts of the story, but I think just as a whole, what you're experiencing in Forbidden West is just I don't want to say 10 times, but miles better than Zero Dawn. Forbidden West also really, really impressed me. It's the most breathtaking looking game I've seen on next gen consoles thus far.
Oh.
There were many times I played the game for 76 hours, and there were a ton of times on my playthrough that I just stopped to admire the landscape and kind of the immense scope of everything, because the whole premise of this game is basically you're traveling from, I think it's Wyoming, to the West Coast. So you get to experience dilapidated Nevada, dilapidated San Francisco, the coastlines, the forests of California, and kind of the North Pacific Northwest.
Oh.
It takes you through a variety of different environments, and that was the other thing that I really liked about Forbidden West is Zero Dawn kind of felt like you were in the same place the whole time because you were, like I said, I think it takes place in like Wyoming or Utah or something like that. So you're kind of in the same deserty area the whole time, but the way that they did the map in Forbidden West, like I said, it takes you through all these different environments, so it doesn't seem very samey. It doesn't seem like I said, I played for 76 hours, and it never really felt like I was in the same place doing the same thing more than once. But all of it comes together in a very grandiose and bombastic package set on the stage of the West Coast, like I said. In my opinion, I think this is absolutely the vision the developers had for this series when they started out making Zero Dawn. And they finally realized it in one of the most spectacularly jaw-dropping games I've ever played. And then just last to wrap it up, also Angela Bassett's in this game, if you didn't know that, which is fucking gnarly.
Rad.
Yeah, Oscar nominated actress Angela Bassett they got her, and there's a couple other big people. Carrie Ann Moss from The Matrix is in it.
Oh.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, everything that you mentioned about what didn't carry or what they fixed from Horizon, the first one, kind of appeals more to me now. I was not a big fan of Horizon. I got what I got out of it, and I was like, okay, this is not, to me, it wasn't fun.
it was really tedious a lot of the time.
A lot of it was very tedious. It was very beautiful to look at, but like a lot of the mechanics were really
funky.
Yeah, a lot of it was but I'm intrigued by the things that you've mentioned in this one. And now I want to go and actually play this one all the way through.
Yeah, and I don't think you really need to have played and beat Zero Dawn to understand Forbidden West.
Yeah.
Either, which is really cool. They do a good job of kind of onboarding you to the world and what to expect. But yeah, if in my opinion, Zero Dawn felt like a game that they started developing on the PS3 and it just happened to come out on the PS4. Whereas Forbidden West, I think, feels like a PlayStation, like a next gen game.
Nice.
Now I need the next gen console for the next gen game.
But you said you have it on PS4.
I do, but I want to see it in the PlayStation 5.
I mean, that's true. It is beautiful. It's truly a gorgeous game. And you get a little glider now, like in Breath of the Wild. I hate making that comparison, but so you can really just climb up to a tall mountain and then glide really far and just kind of look at the scenery. It's awesome.
Did they change some of the sorry, John.
Go ahead.
The mountable machines? Did they add a couple of more like machines you can ride now?
Yes, they did.
Which I'm sure they changed a lot of things from the first one.
Yeah, they you also have a better climbing, because I know climbing was really annoying and like frustrating in the first game. They changed it so I don't want to say it's like free climbing, but it's a lot easier to climb things and kind of get around and try and get where you want to, and that works in tandem with both the glider that I mentioned and some of the mounts that you can get in the game.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, we're getting down to the top three. Are you guys ready for the top three?
The nitty
Yes.
gritty. Let's do it.
Show me Stray.
Well, if you put money on Stray, you'd sadly be disappointed because number 3 is Sifu.
Sifu.
Ooh.
Sifu. Yes, Sifu.
Nice.
This is, in my opinion, absolutely the most underrated game of the year. It is a masterwork of an action game. It's so good. When they first showed off Sifu, I was definitely like, that looks interesting. It looks awesome. I'm all about the kung fu and the brawling, but I never expected the game to kind of take hold of me and impress me as much as it did. It's a modern take on the brawler genre. It's got a super deep and rewarding combat system. The game is incredibly stylish. It's got great art direction. There's really nothing like when the game finally clicks for you and then you're slamming through rooms full of goons, like they're training dummies. The aging mechanic also puts a brilliant twist on what would have been a pretty straightforward action game. So if you don't know, every time you die, you age up in this game. So you start at 20 or 21, I can't remember, and every time you die, that number gets added on. So the first time you die, you get a year added on. The second time you die, you get 2 years, and then 4 years, and then 8 years. And you have to beat the game before you hit age 70, because then you die completely.
Oh.
But what's
Damn.
cool
That's
is
crazy.
you're gonna die a lot at the beginning. I think I got out of the first level just like right over 60 years old, and I was like, man, that kind of sucked. Like, that was really hard. And I was like, but I know I can go back and do it better. Like, it's very much that, like, come on, just one more run type of thing, because the levels aren't too long, and you're like, I know I could do this better if I just did this, and this. You know, if I just remembered that there was this enemy or that there's this weapon I can get, I can come out on top. And that's kind of like where the hook of the gameplay lies, because it's designed for you to play it over and over again, and as you do that, the game teaches you more and more about it. You learn more and more mechanics. You level up your character to make things easier. You know, you can upgrade your character to give them abilities like where they, instead of having to pick up a weapon, you can just kick the weapon at a person, and that'll like sometimes be an instant knockout. So it's like I said, it's designed for you to go back and learn more through playing it multiple times, and it's not frustrating, or it can be tough, but it's not like playing, in my opinion, something like Bloodborne or Dark Souls where it feels very punishing. You know, there are times when bosses can feel punishing and it can get, like I said, frustrating, but rather than frustrating, or rather than punishing, I should say, it's more deceptively complex. It's a challenge, in the best way.
It sounds fun.
Sorry, John, go ahead.
It sounds fun.
It's awesome. It takes a little bit of getting into, but everybody I've recommended this game to has really been super impressed by it. And like I said, this game kind of took a hold of me, and it was all I could think about for a while. I very rarely like go on YouTube and watch videos about like the games I'm playing unless like it's for help, but I was like watching all these videos about like Sifu and like the story and like how to get better and like the best combos, and then I was like going and applying all those things and couldn't wait to get home from work so I could like hop into Sifu. It was just one of those types of games, you know.
Yeah.
I was just really disappointed that this year, when there were a lot of open world AAA action RPGs that kind of took over the other categories, that Sifu still didn't get its chance to shine in the action, in the like main action category. You know, at the Game Awards, I was really upset because they put Sifu in the fighting game category.
Yeah.
And Sifu, there's fighting in Sifu, just like there's fighting in a lot of other games. That Sifu is not a fighting game; it's an action game. You know, similar to Devil May Cry. But even just talking about it makes me want to go replay it again. Don't sleep on Sifu. It's an all but perfect kung fu masterpiece, guys.
Nice.
All right. We're gonna do one more side award.
What?
This is the go ahead, John.
I said what?
So this is the Just Missed It award, and this award is for the game that just barely missed being on my top 10 list for one reason or another. And the game that just missed it is Roller Drome.
Fucking Roller Drome.
Do either of you heard of this game?
I've never heard of it.
It is a rollerblading game with guns.
I'm in.
What?
Oh, I have heard of this.
So this is it answered a question that nobody thought to ask, which is, what if Tony Hawk's Pro Skater had guns? That's literally what it is and what it feels like.
It's like a roller derby with guns, yeah?
Kind of, but you're more in a skate park rather than a roller, like a circular roller rink for the levels. But it asks that question and executes on it brilliantly. The rollerblading solid, the weaponry and the gunplay is awesome. But it falls short in the brutal difficulty spike after the game's done teaching you the basics. It gets really, really difficult after it's like, all right, this is everything you've learned. All right, now you're on your own. And it was just really tough to overcome, even with. They have difficulty and accessibility options to make things easier, but even with those, I found myself struggling, and it was just disappointing. It was one of those things that just felt like it was hard for the sake of being hard, rather than like I wasn't grasping the point of it. Like in contrast to Sifu, where I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. This one, I was just like, I'm getting destroyed. There's 40 different things being shot at me at once. How am I supposed to dodge all this? I could have turned it to put on invincible mode, but I don't really understand what the point of playing the game when there's no stakes on the line is.
Yeah.
But all of that being said, Roller Drome is still really dope, and I really recommend playing it. I'd still give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Nice.
Nice.
All right, moving on. This is number 2. So we're down to the last 2. Any guesses on what number 2 is, guys?
Well,
I
it
have
can't
the
be
list in
Stray
front
because
of
Stray
me.
is number 1.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stray is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not guessing because I have the list in front of me.
Okay. I forgot you have the list. So we'll just move on. This is number 2 is Marvel Snap.
What?
Oh, good.
Did I just blow your mind?
A little bit, yeah. Because I said I had the list in front of me, but I wasn't actually looking. So this was a surprise to me.
Oh, it was a surprise to me that it made it on my list at all, because I'm not a mobile gamer. I don't enjoy mobile games. They're just not for me. I've tried many a time to get into many different mobile games, and at most they're fun for an hour.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, I went back and forth for quite a while on where to put Marvel Snap on my Game of the Year list.
Yeah.
And it was really, really, really difficult to not make it my Game of the Year for 2022. It's just my number 1 Game of the Year, because this game has become my obsession. It's my religion. I can't stop talking about it, playing it. I'm playing it literally every second I can find spare time. Maybe I've played it in traffic once or twice when things are going really slow. Who knows? Who's to say?
Right. When you're pulled over.
Yeah, when I pulled over and I'm like, officer, hold on. I'm about to bust out this dope combo you don't even understand. But it's fantastic. If you've not played Marvel Snap, it gets its hooks into you immediately with a quick and perfect gameplay loop that is so fast and addictive and feeds into itself so well that honestly it's a miracle that anybody, including myself, especially myself, played anything else from October until now. It's such a compelling formula merged with a very popular IP that everybody can get into, and it's just like I said, it's been almost impossible for me to put it down. It's so quick, it's so fast, it's so easy to understand and get into. It's so rewarding in the way that all the mechanics sort of feed into each other. And I like it when games make it feel like I'm earning things even if I'm not doing anything particularly in depth.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, you're always earning stuff in Marvel Snap. You're always working towards the next collection level or the next rank up or trying to level up your cards. It's also awesome because it's free to play and it's not pay to win. It's such a solid package in an incredible mobile game. I truly never thought in my life I would ever have a mobile game on any best of list. And Marvel Snap has just knocked it out of the water. It doesn't track how many hours you've played, but I know for a fact that I've played more Marvel Snap than every game I played last year combined. Like, I've played so much Marvel Snap. And I know both of you did as well.
Yeah, you got me. I mean, Christian, I barely listen to anything you say. I actively try to ignore you. But you actually got me to download this game on stream.
Yeah.
And I played it for a long amount of time that I was actually to the point where I'm like, sorry, son, I know you're hungry for dinner, but you need to wait until I beat the shit out of this person on Marvel Snap. Excuse me. Priorities. So
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. John, you played a bunch too, right?
I played a lot. Yeah. And then I just kind of fell off. But yeah, this is a good game. I remember just telling people about it and people were like, "Oh, it's another pay to win mobile game." And I'm just like, actually, it's not. Everything you pay for is cosmetics only. Like, you literally can't pay to win in this game. And it's on Steam. So if you really want to track how much time you put into this game, download it on Steam, and it'll start telling you.
Dude, if they put this game on Nintendo Switch, I'm done.
It's
Like,
made
I'm
for it.
I'm just done.
It's made for it. They should. And then all the purchases that you can make through the eShop.
Yeah, I'm screwed. I don't usually, I'll buy like a DLC for a game or something. Like, if it's a game I'm really into and say they put out like a $20 DLC down the line, I'll occasionally buy that. I don't really pay any money in games, and it's not because I'm against it. I just don't really feel the need to. I've spent like $50 in Marvel Snap.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wait. Time out.
Yeah.
You've spent almost the price of a brand new regular console game on Marvel Snap, which is not pay to win, which is for purely aesthetic reasons.
I have not just bought aesthetics. I have paid for the battle pass 3 times, which is $10 each time, and then I have bought some cosmetics and a couple of like the welcome packages that they have, where you get like a cosmetic and
a card you don't have yet or something like that. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
some of them are good cards, but you can get them for free if you play long enough too.
Yeah, you can't really. I mean, there are a couple packs where you can buy and you'll get a card, but it's never like anything crazy. It's not like going. I don't know how to make an analog. And I always compare this game to Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not like going back in the day and just buying Jinzo for your Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck and all of a sudden you're indestructible. It's not like that.
No. But there's cards that you want, and the only way to get them is if you see they're available.
And it's if you see they're available, or you just have to keep playing and getting them because there are loot boxes. But I think they're pretty fair in the way that they give things out, because you'll either get a new card or some credits or some gold or a new title or something. And they have their like win rates. They've shared their win rates for that. So you have a bigger likelihood of getting like a card you don't have already than you do other things. Like, they just designed it really, really well. And I also really like they have a great community around them. The developers are super big into taking the feedback that everybody gives them and incorporating it into the game. I think when the game first came out in like beta mode, everybody was asking for a one-on-one, a PvP, and the developers made that priority number 1 for their roadmap. And that actually, the PvP came out today, so I could actually just go battle Jon directly right now.
Well, I don't have a good deck, but now I'm very excited, because that's been one thing too when I talk about it. Like, I was spreading the good word of Marvel Snap mainly because of how much of a big fan you were. And one of the things people said was, well, it's missing PvP. I'm like, well, it's coming soon. I know that much. And then somebody corrected me and they're like, I've been battling people this whole time. And I was like, yes, but what I mean is like PvP where you can choose who you want to battle.
Where you can call someone out and be like, yo,
yeah,
bring your
so
deck.
Now that it's out and about, we have to.
You can show up like you used to in the schoolyard with your deck of Pokemon cards,
get them
and then
taken
you'd
away.
be like, "Battle me!"
Yeah,
or it's time to duel with Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then you go home and your mom's like, "Where's your Pokemon cards?" And you're like, "I lost them in the battle."
I lost them in battle. They all died.
Yeah, I lost them in battle.
I
lost, and I had to give the bully my cards.
I buried them.
I said, "I'm never playing Pokemon again," and I buried them on the playground. All right. Moving on. I have one just quick disclaimer before we hit number one. John, if you could show the next slide for me.
Oh.
I did not play Elden Ring this year.
You were going to.
I'm not against Elden Ring. Nothing against it. I own it. I own the collector's edition. I went into Elden Ring expecting to play it. I just did not have time, mostly because I put almost 80 hours into Horizon Forbidden West and then jumped into Red Dead Redemption 2 right after that. It just wasn't on my priority list, despite how good I know the game is. But I just wanted to put a caveat that I did not play Elden Ring this year, so do not expect Elden Ring to be number one. I'm sorry if that disappoints anybody.
I love how close you got with the font on this. This looks really good.
Thank you. It took all of 5 minutes.
Good job.
But we're gonna move on to my number one game of the year, and that is not Stray. It will never be Stray.
Oh.
On my tombstone, it will say Stray was not a good game.
Stray was not okay.
Yeah, Stray was not okay. It was terrible. No, actually, Stray was just okay. That's the whole point. Anyway, number one game of the year is God of War Ragnarok.
All right. What else is there to say?
Thanks for coming to the stream, everybody. That's it. I just want to point out in chat, Nitro said that Elden Ring is their personal game of the year, and that's awesome. I really hope that I actually get to jump into Elden Ring at some point soon so I can really experience it, because I really want to. I've talked to a bunch of people about the best way to play it, and I just haven't had time. There's been too many games. I was playing too many games to try and catch up for this awards writing it, which is why I do it in February, so I have time to catch up on the games from the end of the year. But yeah, back to God of War Ragnarok. This game had the Herculean task of being at least as good as one of the most revered and best reviewed games of all time.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it lived up to that task. Sequels to bangers like God of War 2018 usually suffer because you don't have the element of surprise anymore. But God of War Ragnarok avoids that pitfall by anchoring itself with Oscar-worthy performances, refreshing combat, and an absolutely masterfully written story. The true character growth makes you empathize with all the characters, even the stone-faced Kratos. I can't reiterate and emphasize enough how good and how well each character is written and portrayed and acted in this game. All of them standout performances, just so good. Better than most movies and TV. And I know that me being a game fan, I'm always kind of putting games above other forms of media, but Ragnarok is just on another level. It's so good. If you just took the cutscenes out and made it into a movie, it would probably be one of the best movies that you could have watched in 2022. It's fantastic. I really love it because the supporting cast are treated like stars in their own right, to the point where sometimes they even steal the spotlight. I was blown away by the character Brock and the character Freya. They are acted by two actors who essentially I've never heard of. They're, famous actors, but Freya and her actress put out one of the best performances, the most heart-wrenching performances, where I teared up uh playing through her chunk of the story. And her actress is it's incredible because, and not to downplay this, but she's just kind of like a sitcom actress. And she puts on one of the best performances I've seen in a long time. Um, so does the actor whose name I forget that plays Brock. Um, Brock and Sindri were big favorites from the first game, God of War 2018, and they really kind of amped up Brock and Sindri, and especially Brock in this game, and it really brought some levity and humor to the game when it needed it. I was just super impressed with what that actor brought to the story. Um, I could never predict where God of War Ragnarok was going to take me. The twists and turns in the stories subverted all my expectations. Like I said, it's difficult when you have a game that's so revered like God of War 2018 was, and you kind of have run through the course that you could. Like God of War 2018 told a very specific story, so it's kind of like, well, where do you go next? Like, and I didn't know where the story would go. I didn't know where God of War Ragnarok was going to take me going into it, and I could never pinpoint where I was going to go next. Every time the game started to get a little boring or redundant, or I was kind of losing interest, it changed it up immediately. It was paced perfectly. It felt like they had played the game and be like, all right, right here is kind of where I'm losing my interest, and they put like a pin in it, and then they changed the story up, or changed up what you were doing, or changed the weapon you were using, or whatever it was. And it was always super refreshing and really like re-energized me to continue playing. I was engaged and enthralled and excited the entire playthrough. It was just such an experience, such an incredible experience, I think, a transcendent piece of media. Like I said, if you cut out the cutscenes, I think this would be one of the best movies you could have watched. But it really does a great job of showing what video games can be, and showing how you can have a great story-based game that's also a really solid video game. I know a lot of time the debate is between like, oh, story games don't have good gameplay, and obviously, gameplay games don't really care about the story, so that's, there's nothing to get you hooked. God of War does a really fantastic job of melding all of that together into an experience that I just didn't want to end. And honestly, as Kratos finally got to rest and the credits rolled, I felt super satisfied with my playthrough, but I also felt empty. It's that feeling of, what am I supposed to do now? Whenever you finish a great piece of media, whenever you've watched a great movie or read a great book, and you're done with it, and you're like, now what? And the best part about that is that God of War Ragnarok has a ton of post-game content too, that actually isn't just like collectathons where you're just running around and picking up, stuff you missed. There's actually new things to do and new pieces of story to tell when you go back after you beat the game, which I also thought was fantastic. But yeah, incredible performances, enthralling story, exceptional combat, just an absolute 10 out of 10 video game.
Nice.
Now I want to play.
Yeah.
Jon, I know you had your issues with the first God of War.
Yeah.
Does this make you at all want to play the sequel or go back to the first one and try it again?
Well, in all honesty, everything that you've said today has made me want to go play every game that you've mentioned today. But my issue with God of War, the first one, is that I really felt like all of your fingers have to do something in God of War. That's how I felt. Like there wasn't a button that wasn't in use at any point in time. And that, coming from Xbox and Nintendo consoles, and having that been the first PlayStation game that I ever bought, because I bought a few. I bought that, Ratchet and Clank, and The Last of Us Remastered. It was very hard for me because I didn't know the PlayStation controller at all. I just didn't know the PlayStation controller. So that's what made it really difficult for me. So I took a break from it, I played some Ratchet and Clank, enjoyed it for a little while. You know, it was recommended to me by you and by Ray because of the nature. It's a platformer for the most part, but it didn't put, you know, its hooks in me. And then I went and played The Last of Us Remastered, and I literally could not stop playing that. I started it, and I just, every day after work, I just come back and just play more and more and more and more. Eventually that became the game to play. Eventually Red Dead came out. Eventually I played Red Dead Redemption 2. So the train just kind of like left the God of War station at that point. I did not have a chance to go back and play it by the time that I figured out the controller better. Now with those insecurities behind me, I'm tempted not only to go back and play God of War, but I also now want to pick up Ragnarok. I also now want to play, because I also had Horizon Zero Dawn as one of the first games that I purchased. Same issues. I wasn't too confident with the controller. I always felt overwhelmed in that game. A lot of it came from hitting the wrong buttons at the wrong times, that sort of stuff. Now I'm tempted to go back and play that. Now I'm tempted to play the second one. So it's I think gaming is unique for a lot of people. It's an experience for a lot of people. I love great stories in video games. I don't mind when a game is action. Okay, your reward is a cutscene. In fact, I love that. I want my reward to be a cutscene because I want to see the progress that has been made, and I want to see the voice. I want to hear the voice acting. And I want to see the mocap, and I want to see the beautiful details and all of that. I want that reward. And I know that, a lot of the single player games that I've played and pushed through had that, like Last of Us Remastered and Red Dead Redemption 2. And I wanted that from God of War, and I wanted that from Horizon. So, I think that now with the confidence that I have with the controller issue that I had from the get-go, I would definitely jump back into, a lot of the previous games from this list and then jump into the sequels. A lot of sequels.
Yeah, absolutely. I will also say, with God of War, I don't be afraid to go in and change the difficulty. I started on what I thought was it was normal, and what I thought I would be able to handle, like no problem having, 100%ed God of War 2018, and
Sure.
It kicked my butt for a long time to the point where I was like, this is way, like, I don't remember it being this hard. And then I remembered that I didn't have the difficulty set on easy. And not that I think the game's too hard to beat on like what I would consider normal mode, just going through the story, but some of the side things were really difficult.
Yeah.
So I bumped it down to easy, and it made it so much better. It made it so much less frustrating. And I think that would probably help you a lot if you went, and if you happen to ever go back and play the games, because there's no shame on playing games on easy.
I think so too, especially with the response time that you need with these types of games. A lot of the times just putting it on easy means that the enemies give you a little bit more leeway to react and attack. And sometimes you just need that because I don't know what buttons go where. So
I don't. Yeah.
Where's the X button? I don't know.
Like, I work hard all day. I don't need to be stressed out working on a video game.
That too. Yeah. Sometimes and that's what I love so much about Red Dead Redemption 2 being an honorable mention from games not released last year. I mean, I put hours into that game, and a lot of it, while it was during the single player campaign, all of it was during the single player campaign. A lot of it was just exploring and seeing like what I can do in this area on my way to the next plot point. Very rarely was it side quests. I don't even think I picked up a single side quest. It was just going off the beaten path, and but man, did that story push me forward. I needed to know what was going to happen next. Like every moment I just needed to know. So what a great game.
Yeah, it's a fucking incredible game.
Yeah.
And my buddy Joe said I was never going to beat it. He was convinced. He was like, "You're never going to beat it. I'm never going to be able to talk to you about it." And then I text him, and I think it was around like May or June, and I was like, I'm playing Red Dead 2 again. He was like, dude, you're not gonna finish it. And I texted him a couple weeks later, dude, I'm still hooked on Red Dead. And I finished it, and I think I blew his mind because him and I had we have a really big bond over video games, and we both really really love the first Red Dead Redemption. And so we would always like talk about that and talk about our experiences with that game. And then Red Dead 2 came out, and we were both like super stoked on it. And I played maybe 6 hours, and I was like, dude, this is boring. Like, I just couldn't get into it. And he was so upset. He was like, no, dude, just push through. You're right there. You're right there. And I was like, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. And then for whatever reason, I was just like, I really want to play. I really want to see that game through. I'm going to do it. And as soon as I hop back in, it just had me immediately. It was like I was chained to the back of one of those horses, and it was just pulling me along.
I remember talking to you about it around the time when I met you, I think. It must have been. Well, no, because it came out after we met each other. But either way, I remember the discussion that we had was that the realism was a little bit too much for you. Yeah. Like I don't need to have to like, you know, feel like I'm gonna fall off my horse at every moment, or that I can't scale this mountain and I'm walking funny, that sort of stuff. Like the realism just felt like a little bit too much. And I remember thinking that that's what made it so fun for me. It's just how ridiculous my character would do things sometimes. Like there was a lot of comedy behind it too. I don't know why, but like sometimes my horse would get away from me and go faster than I expected it to go, and then I'll slam into Courtney in the multiplayer. But because I've never had control of my horse to begin with, and like those moments were really funny.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize that if it was going to kill your horse. I mean, you get your horse back, don't you?
If you have meds and you have money.
Oh, okay.
So
and insurance.
Well, you're the one who wanted to get drunk and play. Anyway.
No. I wanted to play. You got drunk.
Speaking of horses and untimely demises, you're right, John. There is a lot of comedy in the realism. I did have quite a bit of that. There was one time where I was hunting, and I had got off my horse, and you know how the horse kind of follows you around?
Yes.
Well, I was hunting, and the horse stopped on a train track. And this shit's falling. I'm sorry, everybody. Stopped on a train track, and I could not get to it before the fucking train came. And I was like, oh my god, my horse! And I had to restart the game and reload my save and pray that it hadn't saved over when my horse died. And thank God I got my horse back, and which made the end of the game even more, poignant.
Yeah.
And
my God.
There was another time where a very similar thing happened because I was collecting a bounty, and the bounty was dead or alive, and I really just wanted to see what would happen if I hogtie the guy to the to the horse and then drug him along and then tied him up and left him on the train tracks.
Yeah.
Except I was the one that accidentally got killed in that one.
Well, my favorite thing is I was purposely I'm looking for like a collectible items, very specific, and I'm not watching my mini map, and I don't realize that I'm getting stalked by a fucking cougar, and then I'm panicking. I managed to kill the cougar. Problem with that is apparently there's this one spot in the game where I happen to be that not just a cougar spawns, but a bear at the same time. So I survived the cougar. The bear mauled me.
I know that part you're talking about. It's in the snow, right? Or no?
In the woods.
In the woods.
It's near the area, like it's the woods before getting to the area with the snow. It's like an abandoned place.
The amount of time that a bear mauled me, oh God, just because I'm exploring and I'm not paying attention to my surroundings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah, the amount of times that cougars fucking just scared the shit out of me in that game is too many to count, because it's always immediate panic, because I feel like even more so than a bear, they were the hardest things to kill because they're so fast and agile.
Yes, and they chase you down.
you'd hear the growl, and then you're like, oh fuck, where is it? Where is it? And you're trying to like pull out your gun, and you're pulling out the wrong thing, and you pull out a bow and arrow, and you're like, no, that's not gonna kill the fucking cougar.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. I mean, or the worst is when you realize because you're trying to not actually kill something for a particular mission, so you have like a non-lethal weapon on you, and you can't switch in time, and the cougar's like, they cheat. The way they made that cougar move in the game, you should let it just run straight, not be able to fucking like bob and weave serpentine to attack you. It's not fair.
I agree.
Well, let's do some final thoughts and go ahead and wrap this episode.
Yeah, let's recap. I'm gonna recap my top 10 just really quick.
All right.
So without going through the side awards, with number 10 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Number 9 was Splatoon 3. Number 8 was Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Number 7 was Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Number 6 is A Plague Tale Requiem. Number 5 was Tunic. Number 4 is Horizon Forbidden West. Number 3 is Sifu. Number 2 is Marvel Snap. And then my game of the year for 2022 was God of War Ragnarok.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, any final thoughts beyond that, guys?
I mean, great list all around. I think that everyone's gonna be pissed off at you because Stray didn't make the list, and that's really funny to me. So yeah.
Look, I did not include Stray on purpose. I just genuinely thought it wasn't. Thought it was an okay game. So, and I pulled back. I had an award that I was gonna give Stray, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna be mean. I'm just gonna talk about the stuff that I liked this year for the most part.
That's fair.
Or last year, I should say.
That's perfectly fair.
And then I also wanted to throw out in the chat, say thanks to your boy Nitro for not only being here, but reminding me that it's Danielle Basutti who played Freya and Robert Craighead who played Brock. Both of those fantastic actors. Just incredible performances in that game. Really, really great.
Awesome.
Yep. And speaking of thanking people,
I was just about to do that. I'm not ready.
Okay.
But I just want to say thanks to both of you, and then thanks to everybody in the chat and watching the stream for letting me talk for an hour and a half. I really enjoy doing this, even though it was really, really difficult to kind of get back into the swing of things. But I hope you guys liked it.
Very well done. And as Courtney was alluding, thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. Your name's on the list right there. And like Christian said, we'll read them to you. So thank you so much to Geeked Out Ronan 808, Shattered Rift, Bob Kuzi, SideQuest Sam, Jaden 808, Sotogo, and Hooey! I got louder as the names got bigger. And if your name's bigger, that means you get paid a little more. So eventually, hopefully this wall will be too many names for me to read.
I'm going to make you read them all anyway.
My goal is to have them scrolling. Like an end credit scene. That's how I want that many names.
Like the opening crawl to Star Wars.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And if you want to see your name at the end of every episode, check out Patreon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Sorry, I was saying thank you to Escani and Cody in the chat.
Awesome.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much. Again, like I said, I really enjoy doing this. Thanks for being here. Play games and be better.
Awesome. Oh, I should also say we're about to do our post show. So if you subscribe at the $5 tier or higher, you can see us. We're about to rank. We're gonna tier rank arcade cabinets from the 80s and 90s. So see you all there.
Fuck yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Cody wants the merch store link.
That should also be in the description. It's
okay. It should be in the description. John.
No, it's not. Talkstore.com.
Talkstore.com.
TVLKstore.com. We're going to add that to the description.
Right. But yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.